You aren't going to succeed because YouTube and Instagram content is infinitely scalable and has the potential to blow up. You are going to fail because YouTube and Instagram content is infinitely scalable and has potential to blow up. And actually, the reason that you are still stuck, trapped in the shitty education system and living with your parents while I, at 17 years old and fully dropped out traveling, meeting up with the boys with full financial freedom, is simply because I understand how to abuse Gear 1 sprinting while you're still sitting there trying to start in Gear 5. In this video, I am going to teach you my perfect logical argument which will make you go, oh fucking shit, how did I not realize this before? To explain to you how you have been wasting your valuable youth trying to start making money online in Gear 5. But I'm also going to teach you how you can genuinely, realistically, no exaggeration here, make your first $2,000 next week with your content by abusing Gear 1 sprinting. What's going on, bro? My name is Sam Walford and I'm a 17-year-old dropout entrepreneur from the UK, and I help self-improvement creators, maybe just like you, to make their first $2,000 per month online. And just to sort of back myself up with some credibility, last month I made $25,000 and my average client makes $3,700 in the first 60 days of working together. I've helped over 500 guys exactly like you. I know my shit. This has completely changed my life, what I'm going to teach you today, and it has completely changed so many of my clients' lives, and you need to hear what I'm going to teach you today. So in this video, we're firstly going to talk about some undeniable content truths. We're then going to speak on the blow-up feedback loop. Thirdly, we're going to speak on the 2K per month threshold. Fourthly, we're going to talk about Gear 5 romanticisation. Fifthly, I'm going to explain to you what Gear 1 sprinting actually is. Sixth, we're going to do some Gear 1 motivational maths. Seventh, we'll speak about shifting up the gears. Eighth will be the gears spectrum. And ninth is the DCWTDCWTD mindset. So let's get started on agreeing about some undeniable content truths. So let's just agree that if you have experience in your niche, you are more likely to blow up. And hopefully we can also agree that if you have time, as in you don't need to start making money next month and you can hold out not making any money from your content for the next year, 2 years if you need to, which will then cause you to not be needy and have non-neediness. By having non-neediness, you are more likely to blow up. And thirdly, if you have money to invest into your channel, as in you can hire an editor, a thumbnail designer, all that sort of shit, you will obviously get better views and you're more likely to blow up. And then, of course, you need to stay consistent with all three of these over a very long period of time in order to realistically, reliably blow up. And I'm an example of somebody who has all three of these. I have experience in my niche because I've helped over 500 guys exactly like you. I've got tons of clients' results. I'm also not needy because if I don't make any money from my YouTube, well, that's fine because I make money elsewhere and it doesn't really change my life, or, I don't have to go back to school if a YouTube video doesn't blow up. And I've also got money to invest into my channel. I've got an editor, say hi Hugo, I've got a thumbnail designer, I've got a shorts guy, and I can very easily stay consistent with all of these over time, and so I am likely in the long term to be able to blow up. Whereas for you, however, you don't really have experience in your niche. And yeah, sure, you've got your, your inherent credibility. You've got, maybe a solid physique, or maybe you've got social skills and you've got photos of you with girls. However, you probably don't have experience coaching 500 guys in your niche, or even just a couple of guys. Secondly, you're also pretty needy, in that you're trapped in the system right now. Sure, life isn't horrible, but you are kind of wasting your youth. And so you're naturally, just hoping and praying for that blow up. And you're kind of, you're naturally, we can agree, you're naturally going to have a little bit of needy energy. And third and finally, you're probably also pretty broke, or if you're not, you don't really have money to consistently invest. Like you can put 1-2K per month into your channel kind of like I do. And so overall, you don't really fit any of the three criteria that you need to be able to blow up on YouTube. However, here's the interesting thing, and this is us moving on to the next point about the blow up feedback loop, okay? Because of the blow up feedback loop, okay, which we're going to talk about now, you know that despite you not having the money, the experience, or the time, you know that you are still likely to succeed, and that is because of this little feedback loop here. And the blow up feedback loop starts at views, and then those views cause you to then make money and also give you experience, and then that finally gives you non-neediness. And then guess what? The money, experience, and non-neediness, well, guess what? What do we just speak about? Well, that of course then causes you to get more views. And you probably subconsciously understand this, but maybe you've never thought about it. But when you start getting views, well, then you can start making a little bit of money. You get some more experience in your niche because of that. You get more credibility because you're making money. And then also that causes you to become less needy. And so because of that, you then make better videos and get more views, which then causes it to go around and around and around. And this is basically how you blow up. And so let's say we have a time to money graph here. Basically, the higher up on the graph you are, okay, the more money you've got, and the further along you are on the graph across, that's just like the more time you're spending. And so let's say you're down here, you start down here in the bottom corner, you're at $0, we could say here is like 2K per month, got 10K per month, 200K a month, and maybe over here this might be like 3 years down the line. You got 2 years and 1 year, and so kind of like how you are, you're currently here in the present moment, not making anything, and this feedback loop isn't really moving. You haven't got any views, and you've also got no money or experience, and you're pretty needy. And so you're moving through time, but you're not really, moving up with money because you're not making much progress. But then let's say, you start to get a couple of views just because you've been doing it for so long. And so you start to get, a little bit of traction, and you keep that up. And so now, think about it, the feedback loop's moving a little bit more because you're getting a little bit more money, experience, and neediness. And so then you're naturally getting a little bit more views, and then those little bit more views cause you to get a little bit more money, experience, and non-neediness. And that keeps on. But then eventually, it starts to pick up because the more views you get, the more money, experience, and non-neediness you get. And then it just all of a sudden just fucking like blows up. Okay, because you sort of hit that critical mass point where it just goes absolutely whoof. And so if we were to like draw that line, you'd take ages, not really making much progress, but then woof, straight up like that. This is probably how you're anticipating your YouTube or your Instagram, your content growth to go. It's gonna take ages because you're delaying gratification on your goals. You're prioritizing the long term so that, maybe 1 year, 2 years, sure, you don't make any progress. But then 3 years down the line, that's probably when you're gonna blow up, and then that's when you can, reap the benefits of your hard work. Side point, but if you wanna get my entire course for completely and utterly free, no credit card, no fucking bullshit or any of that, like genuinely completely free, and it's a fucking amazing course, by the way, I put so much work into it, then I've got a link in description for that, man. No pressure if you don't wanna click that just yet, but I just thought to let you know that it's down there. And so we're now gonna talk about the 2K per month threshold, which fits in very, very nicely on this little graph that we have here. The interesting thing is, okay, that all you really need is just like 2K per month to get the 80-20 of your goals. Because I know what you're like, I know who you are, okay? You don't particularly care about the money in and of itself. Sure, maybe in the future you want to go buy a Lamborghini and live in the Burj Khalifa or some shit like that. But right now, you really just want your freedom from the system, from your parents, from school, so that you can go and travel and live a fucking sick life. And that 2K per month is kind of like the 80-20 of your goals, because with 2K per month, well, you can very easily afford like the best diet of steak and eggs. You can go and travel and you can meet up with the boys, go working in some tropical island or somewhere nice with just your laptop, digital nomad style. And that in a life like that, you're more likely to meet your future wife type girl, especially, compared to where you currently are. And that in a life like this, you're also way, way more likely to sort of discover your deeper purpose and kind of realize what you truly want to achieve in life. And even better, you're of course able to hire an editor and also hire like a thumbnail designer. But the sad kind of thing is that you've got to spend all these years just slightly below that 2K per month mark until you can eventually blow up. And then the thing is, as soon as you start to gain a little bit of traction and you get above that 2K per month mark, well, because you can live such a sick life now, you can go all in on your business, you can hire the editor and the thumbnail designer and not be needy and have experience in your niche. well, you know, as soon as you get past that 2K per month mark, well, then that's where everything's gonna blow up. It's kind of like the real battle. It's almost just like getting to 2K per month. You've got to spend so long, and then as soon as you get there, woof. It's just kind of, you know, sad. You know, you can probably see where I'm going with this, can't you? It's just kind of, you know, sad that you've got to spend so long just below that 2K per month mark. You know, that 2K per month mark where you're pretty broke and you don't really understand your niche at all and you're pretty needy. So you can probably see where I'm going with this. You're suffering from a common psychological phenomenon which I call Gear 5 romanticization. You know, you sort of dream of this life, this is like almost like romantic. And when I say romantic, I don't mean, you know, like going on a date with a girl with a candle. I mean more like it's a perfect ideal situation, you know, where you've got all this, you know, you got this fucking sick life and, you know, you just wake up in the morning at sunrise at 5 a.m. in your villa and then you go and record your content for an hour and make some videos for your course or something like that and you send it off to the editor. And then, you know, it's like 6, 7 a.m. and, you know, your girl wakes up next to you after you've just done all the hard work and, you know, you go and have a hard workout to start the day and then you do your workout and then, you know, you eat this fucking steak and eggs and go for a swim in the sea under the sun and then it's like everything's done by midday and then for the rest of the day you just lounge around and, you know, live like a lion and just sort of do what you want. You probably want to live a life sort of similar to that or maybe you're traveling or, you know, it's kind of similar to that where you can make your videos and you really love making your videos and then you just send it off and the work is just kind of done. You're not having to fuck around with any like technical shit or fucking, you know, calling people or doing any crazy shit like that. Like that's all managed. You just need to record, do the work you love, and then everything's great. That is what the life you have sort of romanticized. And so of course to be able to do that, you have to do content to live a life like that, right? Well, you know, you can't do some crazy OnlyFans management, SMMA, automation, fucking crazy shit like that. If you want to live a life where, you know, you're at peace and you're enjoying your work, right? You know, you need to do content, YouTube and Instagram, and maybe sell a course or a program, right? But then for reasons that I am going to explain to you very, very shortly, you don't get any results by doing things like that, okay? And so what happens is, and by the way, can we just agree that your beliefs influence your reality? So yeah, we agree that your beliefs influence your reality, right? Hopefully you already agree on that. And of course, your beliefs form from your experiences in your own life. If you see the sun rising and setting every day, well then you're going to naturally believe that the sun will continue to rise and set. That's like a belief that forms from your experiences. And so, due to your experiences of you trying to make content and blow up and, you know, make loads of money with content, okay, what happens then is that you obviously don't blow up, all right? And so then your beliefs form on that and you see that, you know, originally your goal might have been 10K per month. You think about that, when you started business and content and all this stuff, your goal was originally like 10K per month or maybe it was like 100K per month. But then as you started to make content, you kind of realized how hard this shit actually is and how it's not just like, oh, blow up and then everything's great. Actually, it's pretty hard. And so maybe the goal then, you know, the goal might have been lowered to like 5K per month. Like that's all I need, 5K per month. And then you realize like, shit, that's pretty hard too. And so then you start to see actually, all I need is 2K per month and you kind of lower the bar as low as you can get it. But then what happens is you still put loads and loads of effort in to try and get here. And what happens is you start to see, and you can probably agree with me on this, okay? Because again, beliefs are formed by experiences and obviously your beliefs then form your reality, okay? And what naturally happens is you experience that reaching 2K per month is really hard, and then you sort of naturally start to believe that it is hard and it's this big journey you need to go on, this big long-term journey, okay? And then what happens is 2K per month becomes this like reverie, this almost like dream where it's like, yes, one day I'm eventually going to achieve it. And it almost becomes this like goal that's super high above you, you know? Like for example, you think about, you know, some incel type of guy who, you know, he wants to start speaking to girls, but then he goes and speaks to one girl and he gets rejected. And then he starts to believe in his mind that speaking to girls and getting a girlfriend is this really, really hard thing. And then he basically puts girls like way, way above him. And then naturally because of him doing that, he's never gonna get girls. The same thing, and you might not like me saying this because it's sort of like exposing your beliefs and shit, okay, but please hear me out. What's happening is you know, 2K per month being so hard to achieve for you, you start to naturally see it as this point really far above you, where, and you probably subconsciously do it, where it's like, yes, I'm eventually going to achieve it, but it's going to be a long-term thing, it's in the future, that's not me right now, that's in the future. And you start to suffer from what I call, and this, man, this is absolutely fucking fatal, okay? The eventually mindset. Because you think about when I first told you about the money experience and non-neediness, and it was like money experience, non-neediness, like that. And I was like, I have the money experience and non-neediness, but you don't. Well, what did your brain start to think when I said that? Well, your brain started to think, well, I'm gonna get it eventually. I just need to start getting views first, and then eventually, once I start getting views, I'll get the money experience and non-neediness, and then eventually I will blow up, then eventually I will make my first 2K per month. And that's what I'm saying is, you see this life as this like reverie, this super high point above you, and you're like, well, I'll eventually get there, and then you tell yourself, well, I'm just delaying gratification on my goals. I'm delaying gratification on my goals to achieve it in 3 years. And what sort of happens is you continue to make videos with no credibility, with no experience, investing no money into it, doing the exact same thing over and over again, hoping for a different result. And the thing is, you get weirdly fucking comfortable not achieving the results, okay? Because you have put the 2K per month mark so high above you, okay? You put your goal as a thing for the future, not a thing for the present. You put it as a thing for the future because it's so hard to achieve. And so then you become weirdly fucked up comfortable not achieving your goals right now. And because you romanticize this life so much, where you just go and wake up and make content and then your life is fucking awesome, and because you are sort of comfortable, weirdly fucked up comfortable not achieving your goals right now because it's like a thing for the future, what naturally tends to happen is whenever you hear any contradicting advice which tells you to not do content or to do something different, you probably do this. Actually, agree with me in this, because remember, beliefs, influence your reality. Beliefs are very, very important. You naturally have a belief that, doing content for you is like the authentic truth. That's like the work you enjoy doing. That's the purposeful work that you enjoy doing. And so you naturally have to do content. That's like the authentic, deeper truth. And so what happens is, and please don't click off this video, like hear me out here, because you aren't gonna like this. This contradicts all your beliefs and everything. Whenever you hear some advice, okay, which tells you not to do content or do something different, you just, you naturally disassociate from it. You're like, well, that's not me. I need to be purposeful. That doesn't apply to me because I'm purposeful and I need to do content because I want to live this epic life where I can just do content and life's good. And so then you ignore all the other advice and you just continue doing what you're currently doing, which obviously isn't working, and just hoping the feedback loop will start and get going. But the feedback loop never starts to get going. The engine's got no momentum to it. And so it just sort of stays still where it's at. And the thing is, you have experienced this for the past 3, 6, 9, 12, 18 months maybe, that you have been doing content and not getting anything back really. Maybe you've been doing it inconsistently. You're probably being inconsistent and not putting the work in. Side point. You've probably been inconsistent not because you're a bitch, okay? Because you aren't really a bitch. You're probably consistent in the gym and everything. You're probably inconsistent in making content because the results are so disconnected from the actions and because the goals are so far ahead. That is a side point though. What's happening is this is never getting going, and so you see the goals as such a far thing ahead of you, and then you just disassociate with any other advice which doesn't relate in with your Gear 5 romanticization mindset. And so Sam, you've kind of exposed me, Sam, what do I do instead, Sam? Well, little boy, I'm gonna teach you how to start Gear 1 sprinting and how you can fix this. Now, I want to give you a bit of a warning here. I really need to warn you because I am about to tell you what Gear 1 sprinting is. Gear 1 sprinting isn't some fancy, easy solution. Gear 1 sprinting is very, very painful. And Gear 1 sprinting, as I have just told you, it very much contradicts with your current beliefs about having to do content and your Gear 5 romanticization mindset. And so what I want you to do, I want you to, sitting on your, I see you sitting on a chair right now. I want you to get your hands, okay, and I want you to stand up like this, or like half stand up like this. I want to get your hands down here and fucking put them on your ass, and then sit the fuck down and don't click off this video. Go on full screen and sit the fuck down on your hands so that you're not like impulsively gonna click off when I contradict your beliefs and start to make you feel pain. Because you already know what Gear 1 sprinting actually is, okay? And you, because of your Gear 5 romanticization mindset, you are prejudiced against it. And you are not going to like what I'm about to tell you. But please, if you are a young man that is willing to accept and willing to change his beliefs, if it means that's what it takes to achieve his goals, then please hear me out, just hear me out. Okay, you can disagree if you want, but please hear me out. Don't impulsively click off this video like a little bitch as soon as you know what Gear 1 is. So firstly, let's talk about what Gear 5 is. Now, Gear 5 in a car, okay, is going to be very low leverage, which if you know shit about cars, that's basically like low torque. However, it's also very, very highly scalable. Basically meaning, okay, that gear 5 in a car can go 200 miles an hour, but it can't go 2 miles an hour. Gear 5 only works when you already have speed and when you already have momentum going, okay? Because of course, as the leverage of, a business or a gear increases, as it's higher leverage, the scalability naturally goes down. Same other way as well. As the scalability of a business or a gear increases, the leverage naturally goes down. And of course, as you can probably already imagine, gear 5 is doing content and also maybe selling a course, maybe selling that course on school. And the reason this is super high scalability, well, it's obviously because, you can fucking blow up like crazy on YouTube. If you're selling a course, well, there's no extra work for delivery. When you get a sale, well, you don't need to put more work in because the course is already made. So you sell it through a sales page, and so it's literally like you make content and then you blow up and then that's it. Infinitely scalable, okay? However, and you can make 200K per month with that. However, it's very hard to start out and make 2K per month with it. And that is obviously because you need money to invest into the channels and into the Instagram pages and into the reels and editors and all that shit. You also need experience in your niche, and making content doesn't really give you a ton of experience in your niche because, you're not really interacting with your niche that much. And also you're going to be naturally, you need to be non-needy. You need to be able to delay gratification without being needy because obviously it takes so long to get going. And so with Gear 5, you can make 200K per month. However, you can't make 2K per month. And the thing is, Gear 5, you can eventually get going with Gear 5, and Gear 5 can work. Starting out in Gear 5 can work. However, life is a race, all right? And you do not win a race by starting in Gear 5. So then Sammy boy, what the hell is Gear 1? Well, Gear 1 is going to be the opposite, isn't it? Gear 1 is going to be very high leverage, but also, consequently, low scalability. And so obviously, Gear 1 in a car, if you're standing still in the car and you're not moving in the car, you've got no momentum, then Gear 1 is going to be very, very good at just getting you moving, okay? Gear 1 can get you to 2 miles an hour, but not 200 miles an hour. Gear 1 in a business, okay, can get you to 2K per month, but not 200K per month. Now, I am about to give you the big reveal of what Gear 1 actually is, okay? You are not going to like this by any means. This is going to contradict your belief. Get your hands back on your ass, little boy. Okay, that might get me restricted on YouTube for saying that. I don't know, but basically, I'm just going to give it to you straight up, all right? Gear 1, the most high leverage but low scalability business model, is starting with outreach, okay? And then going on sales calls and selling high-ticket coaching. Oh, but Sam, I don't want to do all this hard work. I eventually want to be Gear 5 romantic and everything. I want to live that life where I'm just making content. Yes, little boy, we will get you there. Okay, there is something called shifting up the gears, which I will explain to you very, very promptly. Now, you might also be thinking, yeah, but Sam, where do I outreach? Who do I send messages to? Don't think about that. I'm going to explain that all to you very, very soon, okay? It's going to be very, very simple and very motivational, actually, when I explain this to you, okay? Sam, but I can't charge high prices. People won't pay me. If you're selling coaching, which can genuinely change someone's life, people will pay high prices. That is genuinely just the most limiting belief of all limiting beliefs. It's the most stupid limiting belief. People pay very, very high prices. Okay, I charge very, very high prices, and my niche is like 16, 17, 18, 19-year-olds. Okay, people will pay you if you can change their life. Oh, but Sam, I'm not good at sales. That's why we're going to do sales calls, to get you good at sales, because if you get good at sales, you get good at speaking with your niche, and I'm kind of moving on to the next point here, then that gives you more experience. Okay, we don't expect you to be good at sales. That's why we're doing sales calls. And also, you're not really good at YouTube, but you still want to do YouTube but not sales. So now I've hopefully convinced you of Gear 1 logically. However, your beliefs in your brain isn't really liking that because it's still contradicting you emotionally, okay? And so hopefully, I can convince you emotionally with what we're calling the motivational maths. With high-ticket coaching, 2K per month is equal to 2 sales per month. 2 sales per month is equal to 15 sales calls per month. And 15 sales calls is equal to 750 DMs sent. And so per day, for 2K per month, all right, and these numbers are proven, by the way. These are my numbers, these are my clients' numbers. you literally only need to do 25 DMs a day and an average of 30 minutes of sales calls. And so for 2K per month, you need to send 25 DMs a day, okay, and do 30 minutes of sales calls. And these are genuine, realistic numbers which me and my clients use. And the thing is, you know, it gets all scary now because you're realizing, well, hang on a minute, shit. Achieving that 2K per month is really, really fucking easy. And so because, like I said, this 2K per month goal has become this weird reverie for you, this weird dream for you. Now that it's actually realistic that you can achieve it, becomes this weird ass fucking scary thing, bro. Because the thing is, if you just want to make more money, well, guess what? You can literally just send more DMs, okay, and you can literally very easily just go on more sales calls and you make more money. And like I said, it's probably getting pretty scary for you now because, oh, but Sam, I don't want to do DMs. I can't outreach that scammy and sleazy. They just fucked up limiting beliefs. Please, hear me out. It makes so much sense because what happens is, oh, but Sam, then what do I do after 2K per month? Well, we're going to get to that. Because what happens is, you get to 2K per month like really, really fucking fast, okay? You get to this 2K per month mark with absolute godspeed, okay, because of gear 1. But then what starts to happen is, well, you start to flatline out because obviously it's not, you know, not very, very scalable at all, and you sort of start to, you know, plateau here and everything, okay. Well, that's natural, okay, that is completely normal, all right. But the thing is, you get to that 2K per month mark with gear 1, which is obviously unscalable, and you sort of max out gear 1. But then by doing that, you can drop out, go to Bali if you really want to do that travel, eat the best diet, live the fucking sick life. Like, that life, bro, genuinely, it's fucking awesome. I'm living it, man. It's absolutely sick. And you can very realistically, very easily achieve that. It is stupid how close 2K per month is to you. But then of course, we start to hit a ceiling, okay? And that's why we can then shift up the gears. And so naturally in a car, when you max out gear 1, you shift into gear 2. Then you max out gear 2, you shift into gear 3. And that's basically exactly what we do in business. And so with the one-on-one coaching, for example, because one-on-one coaching isn't very scalable, what you can do is, by coaching so many different guys one-on-one, you get experience in your niche. By getting that experience in your niche, you start to see common patterns for what your niche actually struggles with when you coach them. And so instead of like re-explaining the exact same thing you explain to everybody, you just decide to like make a little video, okay, to explain this one thing that you can then send to all your clients instead of trying to explain it all to them individually. And then you keep making more and more of those videos as you explain more and more things. And guess what? You have now got a course, okay? Because you make the course by understanding common things that your niche struggles with, and you understand that by coaching them. And then instead of doing like loads of different one-on-one calls all throughout different times and different days, you decide just to do like every one-on-one call back to back. You just have them at the same time every day, you know? And then you decide, well, why do I just do them separate calls? Why don't I just do one big call if it's at the same time every day with like all the clients in all at once? Well, guess what? You've now got group coaching. And so you basically scaled up from one-on-one coaching into selling a course and doing group coaching just completely naturally. And that is shifting up the gears, okay? But if you would try to originally start with the group coaching in the first place, it would have been harder to sell. It would have been harder to get people results, because you don't understand these common things about your niche, and so you can't make a good course yet. And so you've essentially landed in selling a Gear 5 program and course only by starting in Gear 1. Same with the content. You do outreach and sales calls. By doing the outreach and sales calls, you get tons of experience in your niche. Okay, you get the experience, you get the money coming in. That then causes you to become not needy. You can then go and hire an editor. You can make really, really good content because you've now got experience in your niche. And then guess what? The content blows up, and then you sell your program from that. And so what happens is you scale up in Gear 1, you hit that 2K per month mark, you get money, experience, and non-neediness, okay? And then with that, you can then shift into Gear 5, and then that's when you can essentially just like blow the absolute fuck up. And so this big blow up here, you can do that exact same thing, and you can achieve your, you know, romantic Gear 5 dream all the way up here, okay? You can achieve that, but guess what? You achieve it by starting in Gear 1. And so we're running out of space on this board, but let's start to talk about the gears spectrum. And so you see this little line at the top here. Over here, this is like Gear 5. Over here, like this is Gear 1, and you sort of got, you know, in the middle there. Now, there is like 3 different parts to a business. There's the attraction, which is like getting new people to know about your business. There is then the conversion, which is basically selling them. And then there is also the delivery, okay, of actually, you know, delivering on the whatever you sell them, okay. And for each of these aspects, there is a spectrum for each, okay. And so, for example, for attraction, for getting new people into your business and for getting new people to know about you, a Gear 5 attraction method would be doing YouTube and Instagram content, okay. For conversion, a Gear 5 conversion system would be like a sales page, because a sales page is super scalable, but also low leverage, because to make a good sales page, you need to understand your niche, okay? And a Gear 5 delivery would be like a course, because it's super scalable, but obviously it's quite hard to make a good course if you never really coached your niche before. But then, a Gear 1 attraction system would, of course, be outreach, because outreach is very, very high leverage, but very low scalability, okay? A Gear 1 conversion system would, of course, be doing sales calls, because obviously very high leverage, very easy to sell someone a $1,000 offer on a call, because you're literally right there talking to them on a call. You've got like direct ability to sell them. You're not just hoping you can sell them through a sales page. But however, very, very unscalable, lots of work. And then Gear 1 delivery would obviously be doing one-on-one coaching, so low scalability, but super high leverage to actually change people's lives, okay? Now, the interesting thing is, okay, let's say, you got the attraction, you got the conversion, and you've got the delivery, okay? Gear 5 is not the goal. Gear 5 is just a means to the goal. When you're in a race, okay, you don't aim to get into Gear 5, you aim to win the race. And if that means being in Gear 5, then great. If that means being in Gear 3 while you're going around some sharp bends, then so be it. If that means starting the race in Gear 1, then so be it, okay? Because here's the thing, this Gear 5 romanticization you've got of just waking up, making content and life being awesome, okay? That's not actually inherently what you want. What you probably want is the freedom. You want your business to be automated. That is the goal, automation. And Gear 5 is not the same as automation. Now, Gear 5 can be automated, but Gear 1 can also be automated. Gear 1, outreach and sales calls, you can get somebody to do the outreach for you. You can get a closer to do the sales calls for you. And then with the coaching, sure, coaching you can't really automate, but then you can make a program, which is like Gear 3, group coaching in a course inside a bit of a program. It's kind of like group 3. It's not like a course, or it's just a course. It's sort of in between coaching and a course. You could do that, outreach, sales calls, and a group program, but get the outreach and sales calls automated by somebody else. And then you're basically living the same sick life, and you can also do content at the same time if you really want to. And so the point I'm making, like, Gear 5 isn't the goal, it's just a means to the goal, okay? And basically, to make more progress in business, you just need to, mix and match between what will work best. And so maybe you actually do best with automating some outreach, okay? But then, maybe selling a program, but then maybe you could do it through a sales page. And you sort of that mix and match depending on what you need. Gear 5 itself, it's a nice thing just making content on a sales page, but at the same time, you can make way, way more money with like sales calls and selling a high ticket program, especially if you can automate it, which is also kind of what I'm now doing. And so hopefully that's sort of, starting to break a few of your beliefs. So let's now talk about the DCWTDCWTD mindset. And that basically means don't copy what they are doing, copy what they did. Because, you see like Hamza, Iman Gaji, Oscar Patel, all these, big course sellers, and they're making content and selling a course, and you're like, well, shit, they're making a load of money, that must be what's working. And what happens is all these course sellers, okay, who's making content, they like zoom past you with tons of momentum, all right? You can imagine this, you're standing still in your car's stuck, not moving, and you can't figure out how to make it work, and they go zoom right past you. And they shout out the window at you, hey bro, I'm in Gear 5, try putting your car in Gear 5, Gear 5 is what works. And they say that as they zoom past you, okay. Forgetting that they started their car in Gear 1, and that's how they built up the momentum. And so then you go put your car in Gear 5, and you don't get anywhere, because you're trying to copy what they're doing, forgetting that their situation is different to yours, because they've already got momentum. Take Hamza, for example. You scroll back on Hamza's channel, that guy, he used to do coaching. He used to do one-on-one coaching, okay, through sales calls. And he made his first $1,800 per month with that. With that $1,800 per month, basically $2K per month, while he hires his editor, Sam Harborn, and then guess what? He gets tons of experience, becomes like the goat of self-improvement by doing all this coaching, and then he blows the fuck up and sells a course. And he shifted up from Gear 1 doing coaching and sales calls into Gear 5 once he was already 2K per month. Iman Gaji, for example. Iman Gaji started with unscalable but high leverage, like done-for-you SMMA, okay? He didn't start out selling courses. He did done-for-you SMMA, okay? He got the experience and money from that. He then started teaching other people how to do SMMA and started selling courses on that, okay? Alex Hormozi, for example, he used to do like the gym management, like the gym launches in real life, okay? He would go there in real life and like manually do it for them, all right? And he would do like all the sales himself, okay, in these gyms. And then he got really good at that, and then he started teaching other people how to do it. You basically always start with high leverage, low scalability, coaching, done for you things, okay? Or like done with you coaching, all right? And then by that, you get money, you get the experience, you get the non-neediness, and then that allows you to scale up into doing teaching, like do it yourself, which is like, selling a course or a program, and scaling up into content. That is just the natural progression that everybody fucking takes, bro. And you're probably not liking this, and you're probably getting a ton of limiting beliefs right now, bro, but that is completely natural because we have basically just like uprooted your entire perception of doing content here. So hopefully by now you're somewhat convinced of starting in gear 1. So let's now talk about how you can actually make $2,000 next week. Hopefully by now you're pretty convinced of starting in high leverage gear 1. But the thing is, you still need to know, how to outreach, what to send the outreach on, where to send it, who to send it to, how to do follow-ups, and how to book the sales calls, what to say on the sales calls, the sales script, how to do objection handling, how to price your coaching, how you should even sell the coaching, how do you pitch, and then how do you deliver on the coaching, how do you process the payments, like all of these questions, okay, which you're like, how do I actually do this? There is so much to it, okay? And I won't lie to you, Gear 1 is just as confusing a beast as Gear 5 is. If anything, it's more confusing because it's so high leverage, it's actually a really, really fucking big grind. My average client makes $3,700 in the first 60 days of us working together by starting in Gear 1. Now, I am not selling you anything whatsoever here because you can get my entire course for completely free, which will give you all the autistic details on how to send the outreach, what to send, how to go on sales calls, how to pitch your offer, literally everything in ridiculous autistic detail, and you can get it for completely free, no credit card, no fucking free trial bullshit like that, like genuinely, completely and utterly free. You can literally just click the link in the description and it's just right there for you. It's within my free community on School, and so I really highly recommend you go and click that right now, bro, because if you are convinced of Gear 1, that is what you need. Also, you might never see one of my videos ever again. Think about that. There's a pretty big chance of that happening, okay? And you'd probably make a lot more progress in life if you were to see more of my videos, because trust me, I've got way more valuable videos than this one. And so, if you like, you can scroll down and click the subscribe button right now so that you can see more of my videos in the future. But I really appreciate you watching to the end, man. I genuinely really appreciate that. No pressure if you don't want to subscribe. No pressure if you don't want to join my free course. I completely understand that. But I hope you have an amazing day, bro. Bye-bye.